Hello, everybody. We're back. No dirt bike. Today is the 30th, and we're doing business and security. Oh, and there's a crisp...
Brought to you by Coke.
Oh, was it a Coke? I was going to say a refreshing Sprite. It sounded like a Sprite.
And here with all this Intel bling, you thought we were sponsored by Intel, but no, it was not to be.
Why have you switched from orange soda to Coke?
I don't like my kidneys, and I want to punish them.
Oh. You got to get on that sparkling water life. Static
just
water.
Regular water.
No, static water is where it's at.
The supply chain for my diet orange soda has failed. It's been on the grocery list a few times, and they've just never brought it. And I don't know if it's still on the list, but there was like 6 months there where it just never came.
Meyer
there were aluminum shortages for a while, or at least that's what I heard, and so they couldn't get cans.
Meyer is back to being 100% out of the cat food that I buy. For 3 weeks now, they have had no cat food. Luckily, I'm a bit of a stockpiler when it comes to that, but we're down to the fumes at this point.
Are they still eating greenies all the time?
Oh yeah, greenies are a staple. Well, you talk about the supply chain, and the supply chain is damaging to most companies right now, but in some ways, I think Intel might have snuck one past us here. Because if this were any other time, and you looked at this chip release, you would say, nobody's going to buy that. But now,
maybe.
I think probably everybody will buy this if they can get it.
The Intel Core i7 11700K review blasting off with Rocket Lake. So this is an Anantech review. You've probably already seen it if you're interested in technology, but yeah, more stuff is launching. I don't know. Check our channel for more stuff. And I'm not giving you any specifics or anything like that. This was actually early. So Intel accidentally allowed these to be sold in Europe ahead of their actual launch. Whoops. So this is an early review with like early BIOS and early whatever. These are 14 nanometer chips that were designed for a 10 nanometer process, but Intel couldn't execute on their 10 nanometer thing. They got a new CEO as a result of their problems, and he made some big announcements this week.
And one of them echoes back to America first. Here we are. Wonder how long this was in the plans. But we need it, but can it be profitable? That's the question.
With the taxpayer subsidies, yes, it can. CNBC reports Intel is spending $20 billion to build 2 new chip plants in Arizona. And don't forget, TSMC is also going to build some stuff, and maybe Samsung. So $20 billion, it's going to be like 20,000 jobs, depending on how you count. Out in wherever, Arizona.
Krista, there's a resort. Swap the next 2 stories.
Oh, no. Okay.
So, yeah, Intel cannot get the small transistors. They have failed spectacularly for a very, very long time, and they're having to rethink everything. Normally, they are monolithic. They do it themselves. They're one of the few companies that do that. But now, they're saying, maybe.
Those fabs aren't going to be online until 2025 either. But Tom's Hardware also reports that Intel plans to outsource some key CPU production for 2023 chips to TSMC. So Intel has actually bought a lot of capacity from TSMC since the dawn of time, but not for processors, mostly. I mean, that's mostly true. Most of the stuff that they bought from TSMC were things like for chipsets and modems and other stuff that Intel does. But yeah, CPUs also for 2023. So, and those fabs won't be online until 2025. So it's going to be glorious. Like when Intel, like the full might of Intel, spending money like there's no tomorrow on next generation processes and technology. It's going to be a sight to behold. But
you don't know that.
But not today.
Oh, well, it could be a tragedy.
Well, the last time it happened, it was a sight to behold.
We'll see, I suppose. Something that might be a sight to behold is this new product. I like to imagine that they were in the, R&D room having their weekly meeting. It was like, we got to come up with a new gimmick. What do we got? And the guy who came up with the folding phone, he was, like sitting quietly. Bob, what do you got? You took over last year. He's like, fold it again? I don't know.
Samsung is reportedly working on a double folding phone. So it'll fold in thirds, and it unfolds into something really big. There were phones like this, or portable computing devices like this in the Westworld TV series, and they were really thin and light and fun, and I wonder if that's what's driven some of this.
I don't think that show is that popular.
How long before we get like origami phones where it's like this one turns into a swan?
The meme. You remember the AMD more cores jester meme? We need that, but it's now more folds.
I can see a really fancy restaurant. You sit down and there's an origami swan on your plate, and you unfold it, and it's the digital menu, and you order.
Oh,
An e-paper menu where it's like glitched out a little bit because it's been
we
folded
just found like a
times.
very niche area for that to work in.
But that would be huge. They would probably wouldn't work half the time, and they'd be all slimy and greasy.
Oh yeah.
But they'd keep using them because they spent a lot of money on that.
Let's get dessert, and the person licks their fingers and starts swiping.
Yeah. And this is a headline that, again, any other time you'd be like, oh man, this is exciting, but this is just another chip that we won't be getting. Although I don't think that we were going to get this in the foreseeable future
this is
anyway.
for Facebook and Amazon.
Yeah. Although they do say that eventually this will be massive for gaming.
Samsung's 512 gigabit DDR5 module is a showcase for the future of RAM. Well, I guess it's 512 gigabyte DDR5 DIMM, but the chip itself is 16 gigabit, and you can put a crap load of them on a DIMM to get a total of 512 gigabytes of capacity per DIMM. It's DDR5 too, so like 71 gigabytes per second. Nice.
Not yet. Be patient. Wait for them to dig a new canal. We can get some.
Yeah, the global supply chain. There was it's from Star Trek, but like the Ferengi thing is like the great commercial link. It's like the great commercial link on Earth is breaking down. We can't even. It's like, why is this thing late? It's like, oh, because we didn't have any toilet paper, and because we didn't have any toilet paper, everybody got sick, and then the factory shut down, and then we couldn't make widgets to ship them. You know, I don't know.
But it goes back to something even sillier than we ran out of toilet paper. There was a bat.
Yeah. Some guy ate a bat, and now I can't go out of my house.
The first split on that flowchart is there a bat? Amazon has a lot of PR issues, and I think a lot of this stems from the unionizing, which is maybe going to happen in Alabama, and they're doing everything they can to try and discourage that and to try to dispel these rumors. Because when I say something about Amazon factories, there's one image that comes to almost everyone's mind, or at least if you've read a lot about it. Krista, what is it?
Peeing in bottles.
It's the pee bottle. Yeah. So when you think about
pooping in driveways was the other one that I was thinking of, but
There's a Ring video of that.
yeah,
how is that related to Amazon?
That was an Amazon driver.
that was Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Pelosi.
No.
Oh, okay. But when I think about pee bottles, I think about the neat community, right? 4chan. I think about truckers, and I think about Amazon workers.
Sorry,
Right.
Amazon workers.
And Amazon is not too keen on that last comparison. They don't like being in that group.
Amazon's denial of workers urinating in bottles puts the P in a PR for fiasco. Bravo, excellent
Luke
work
O'Neill. Good
on the
job,
headline. So yeah, it's Twitter. It's like, oh, you don't actually believe that, do you? And then there were replies with pictures and memos and things where it was like, you know, this is like the 9th time we found a pee bottle in the delivery van. Please stop.
There's even an author who went undercover for, I think, 3 months and worked in an Amazon warehouse and then wrote a book about it. And he's like, here's my pee bottle. It was necessary.
I like this article sort of explains this as like, you know, your abuser or like, you know, as like a battered wife. It's like, oh, if I was, you know, so abusive, then she would leave me, right? And there's some truth to that. I mean, this is a very difficult situation and time for a lot of people. And if Amazon is an easy place that is relatively stable, you know, depending on what your personal circumstances are, being asked to pee in a bottle might not be completely unreasonable from your point of view. But that doesn't mean it's okay for it to exist.
If she doesn't want me to hit her, why doesn't she listen?
The options are I make minimum wage at the grocery store, or I can go work at Amazon and just not pee and destroy my kidneys. but I can afford my rent. I guess I'll go work at Amazon. Those are your two choices. Also, I like the last line of this article. Bezos' Washington, D.C. mansion has been reported to have 25 bathrooms for his own use.
You think he just uses a different one every day to make sure they're all getting cleaned? So here's my question about this, though. What did you think they thought the reaction was going to be to that tweet? Did they think it was going to be successful?
I think that they think that they've hired a PR firm with like, Bernaysian levels of skill, when in fact it's just a standard run-of-the-mill agency.
But see, even Bernays, I don't think he could operate in the modern information flow. It's a different game now. It's got to be played differently. But one thing, Amazon might suck at the PR game, but you know what they're really good at? Amazon Basics. And you know why they're good at that? It's because they come up with products that they can make in China for a fraction of the price of anyone else. But how do they come up with those designs?
Watch a popular bag maker roast Amazon for ripping off its design in this clever video. So this is amazing. The video doesn't accuse Amazon of doing anything illegal, and in fact what Amazon did probably wasn't illegal. Unethical, sure, but illegal? Probably not. It's a genuinely funny and entertaining video, and also is like this behemoth of a machine that's powering, $1 trillion of value for Jeff Bezos. Does it really need to do this? Like, is this part of its normal MO? That's the more disturbing takeaway that you should have from this video, because the answer looks like yes. In fact, I think these bag maker people should get together with the tripod people that we covered a couple of weeks ago, where pretty much exactly the same thing played out with some people that had put together a really clever, awesome tripod design.
Now, these guys, like you say, they did a really good job, because not only did they go through like feature by feature and show how they were ripped off, but they also describe how theirs is better in very believable ways. They're like, oh, yeah, you can't use this material here because this will happen. That's why we use this other material. And you're looking at that Amazon Basic and you're thinking, that's going to go quick.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to the point where I avoid Amazon Basic stuff, especially if it's electronic.
Yeah.
I can attest that the Amazon Basics DisplayPort cables are about as good as wadded up aluminum foil.
Yeah. But cheap. Buy a new one every week.
Which is what they want.
Now, we use Discord for our Twitch streams when we want to communicate, and I gotta say, it has been pretty hit or miss.
Yeah.
It's not great. We've actually been thinking about looking at an alternative, and this headline makes me think we should look harder.
Microsoft is in talks to buy Discord for more than $10 billion. So immediately your mind should go to, how are they going to recover their $10 billion investment immediately after they get their hands on it? And none of the possibilities are pretty.
Are good.
Now, they do have that Discord premium tier. I don't know what that does. Do you?
It lets you use emotes. So, like, say if I wanted to use the Team PGP channel emotes in, like, my private Discord channel, you'd be able to do that.
Is that it?
Pretty much.
I don't know if that's it, but that seems to be the one that they advertise the most.
But they mentioned that Microsoft, based on what they've done recently, Microsoft actually just put a huge portion of the EA catalog into their Xbox Live service. And I gotta say, I was like, you know what? I want to play the Star Wars Squadrons game, but I don't want to play it multiplayer. I only want to play single player, and I understand that single player is very short, so I'm not willing to pay any amount of money for that. But then they gave it to me, and I was like, well, I guess that's added value.
I pulled up Discord just so we could find out what the Turbo offers. More emoji power, which is the thing I talked about. You get a personalized profile. You can rep your status by having an extra icon next to your name.
That's huge.
Bigger uploads. That is actually kind of nice if you do a lot of photos. An HD video.
What's the video now? 480?
Use
Do we not
up
consider
to 4K
720 to be
source
HD?
resolution up to 60 FPS screen share.
Oh, it's 4K. Okay.
Yeah. Are you ready to upgrade? No, I just wanted to look at it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I'm not
Discord.
ready. But some people are saying that if they put that in the Microsoft subscription basket with all the other stuff, and you've already got it, you're not going to use an alternative. You're just going to be like, oh, I've already got Discord. I'll just use Discord.
Yeah.
So like maybe
Which
that's
kind of true.
I also look forward to the possible future where they combine it with Teams somehow, and then it's just
Please
like
no. Two terrible products merging together.
You know what really makes Teams seem a lot more amazing than it is? If you've ever had to use Skype for business.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I hate Skype more than anything else in the world.
It's just like, they got halfway through and they were like, surprise, we're done. Moving on.
Well, yeah, they got halfway through and then they did Teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also half done.
But Teams has Bummer Bert, which is like a custom sticker pack, and that's 100% worth it. So
How much would you pay for that?
literally nothing, because I can use them for free right now.
But what if you couldn't?
It would be disappointing.
How perverse would it be if there were paid emojis? So, like, when your CEO is talking to you on Teams and you want to have, like, the poop emoji reaction, you have to pay $1 for that.
Isn't that Reddit's business model?
Yeah, I mean, basically.
I mean, Twitch, yeah.
No,
But
the little
you're
the things on
you're
Reddit.
gunning for a promotion, and you have to like have the certain emoji so he knows that you're committed. So you have to pay to play.
Thanks for the gold, stranger.
Yeah.
Or Reddit Silver, which doesn't involve actual money.
I purposely left out the Reddit controversy this week because
Who cares?
I care, but how can we? Do you know what it is?
Uh-huh.
You've not been following that? Oh, we got
I kinda
a
have
conversation
followed
to
it.
have after we're done here.
Yeah.
But I was amazed when I was reading that, and there would be a comment that's like, I can't believe that Reddit got away with this. This should be criminal. Oh my God, they should all be destroyed. And someone would give that gold. And it's like, what? You just gave them money. To agree with the comment that they should be destroyed, you just paid them. What's the thought process there? Anyway, speaking of Discord, we are all trapped in these Zoom, Discord, Teams worlds right now because many people are working from home. And week after week, we see more and more. Who was it last week? Was it Salesforce that canceled their whole building?
Oh, yeah. Salesforce.
Yeah, Salesforce.
And we see a lot of those headlines. But here we see one in the opposite direction.
Major employers scrap plans to cut back on offices, KPMG. So,
I think this is in Australia.
but it's Reuters. And the picture makes me think, London? I don't know why.
Oh, City of London. It's not in Australia. So yeah, this is just people who are saying that only 17% are now saying they're going to cut back.
My mom is obsessed with some kind of like London real estate program. And I think the difference here might be that, in the real estate program, it's like, this was, a villager in the 15th century left a cardboard box here. And then somebody built a stone wall on the southmost, facing edge of the box. And now we've turned it into, a cozy villa for whatever. And it's going to sell for £400,000. And, I don't imagine that places like that would be very comfortable to also work from home. Like, they just seem very small and cramped. And so if it's like, hey, work from home also, a lot of people would probably be like, no, because I don't have that many square feet to begin with.
I don't understand. How does she interact with that? Is she trying to invest in something?
No, she just really likes watching, like,
like tiny home stuff? Or?
Oh, when you say program, you mean TV program?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought she was like trying to get involved in some sort of timeshare or something.
Yeah, I did
Jesus,
too.
man,
I was
you
like,
got to put a stop to that.
No, I mean, sometimes the houses are normal, but, like, just, like, the cultural differences, it really is kind of fascinating because, like, some of the kitchens have, like, a walk-in chimney.
Yeah, because they've been there
Are you
for
watching
800
House Hunters
years.
International? Is that what that is?
I don't know what it is.
I bet that's what it is, because there are episodes that take place in like other countries, and one of them is like when they do episodes in Italy, this couple will come over and they're like, we have like a $5 million budget, and the person will show them different houses, but it's always like, this is an abandoned villa from like the 1600s, and there's no electricity, but we're gonna charge you $2.5 million for it.
Yeah. It's and it's always there's always just bizarre things like this used to be a barn, the horses were downstairs, and you sleep in the loft, and like they have the original rafters, but they put plaster up, and it's like, oh, this is, I mean, okay, but you're still kind of living in a barn.
Well, you don't want to do that the other way around.
Yeah, I guess
That'd
that's
be
true.
a lot of noise. I have cats upstairs, and let me tell you, that's bad. Well, this is the story of the day or the moment, I suppose you could say. And you think, well, how is this technology related? Well, maybe in the U.S. it won't affect us that much. But if you're in Europe, oh boy, the chip shortage just got so much worse.
Explainer: the Suez Canal block could hit product supply chains. So, is it still blocked at the time of recording this?
Yes.
Wow.
There's a domain that's like, is the ship still there.com or something, and it just says yes.
And there's that great screenshot of one excavator,
Yeah.
and everybody's like, do they only have one excavator? This thing's the size of a city. You've got one excavator working on it. Maybe it's a union thing.
There's a picture that has some of the other, like a lot of the ship traffic is just being redirected around the Cape Horn, the southern tip of Africa, because that's how we roll now.
Oh, that's the reason we have that canal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if there's...
Oh, you go.
Well, you think there's like a resupply or an outfitting port right on the tip of Africa that's just making a ton of money right now?
Yeah.
I bet, yeah.
What were you going to say,
I was gonna say, I wonder if like when they designed this canal, I wonder if the designers were like, we should really widen this one section.
No.
And then there was some project manager who was like, what kind of idiot would ever get stuck there?
No, because
we're not gonna waste the money to do that.
This is one of the largest ships in the world. They didn't even dream of this when that was built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ship building technology has far outpaced the canal maintenance technology. That's the issue here.
Wasn't it like $80 billion of products a day are prevented from going through there?
It's a ridiculous. I mean, it really does just shut
I
us
think it was
down.
96.
It's bananas.
Yeah, it's insane. But again, this is another bullet point in the whole supply chain thing. Like, we really, really have created a system that it's so fragile. So fragile. And perhaps another example of fragility is bank employees. Because there was I can't remember which one it was, but they just released this big report about how they're working 80-hour weeks or whatever. But I wonder, if you're a banker, what do you do for 80 hours?
Steal other people's money.
I think a lot of people would say that. But apparently it's weighing on them, and Citigroup is trying to think of ways to lessen the burden.
Citigroup CEO Jane Fraser calls for Zoom-free Fridays and a new bank holiday as the fatigue grows from the global situation. You know, I didn't think about it until I read this article, but I have noticed that a lot of the time when there is a call for a Zoom meeting on a Friday, it's usually because somebody has dropped the ball and they're giving you work, and they're going to pretend on Monday like you had all week to do the work that you talked about on Friday.
It seems like the bank wouldn't want to destroy that. Or maybe they're just trying to weed out the problems.
Well, it's definitely very stressful, because it's like, oh, you guys dropped the ball hardcore, at the end of the week. And it's like, is the expectation here that I'm going to work over the weekend to make up for your horrible thing that you did?
The other one is...
I told you about this Friday at 3:30 p.m. and why isn't it fixed Monday at 9 a.m.?
But you also want to do your Zooms in the afternoon, because if you do them in the morning, then there could be an expectation that something's done by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a much more common thing. Like, if I've just tallied up in my head, if that's a Friday morning, the chance that the expectation is that that's done by Friday end of day is probably about 5 times higher than any other day of the week.
It's almost like people are poor planners.
Awful, awful people. Shame on you.
Well, speaking of awful people, Tesla is accepting a new kind of payment. And the interesting thing here is not that they're going to take the money, but what they're going to do with it.
Tesla will accept Bitcoin as payment, Elon Musk says, according to the New York Times. The entire rest of the article, I'll save you the trouble of reading. They're not going to convert it into fiat. They're just going to hold it.
Which is risky. And they already have a massive, massive cache of Bitcoins. So,
1.5 billion.
Actually, this will all be a drop in the bucket compared to that. Probably won't even move the needle at all.
Yeah.
But he's betting big on it. And if it continues the way that it's going, he will win big from this bet.
Yeah. If he'd sold even one Tesla 10 years ago for Bitcoin, they would have way more than 1.5 billion now.
And if it doesn't work out, the company would crater probably pretty spectacularly, but he'll still be one of the richest people in the world. Because
He'll be fine, and that's
it's not
what
going to
matters.
affect him. Yeah. And Tesla continues to innovate. Is that the word that you use here?
I would not use the word innovate.
It's not the word I would use. I would say that they continue to destroy a product that some people actually already seem to like with insane decisions. The this is actually one of the big things in the sports car world. Because the modern human, I'm gonna piss some of you off. The modern human cannot outshift a modern automatic transmission. Like a double gearbox or dual clutch, you can't beat it. Sorry. So new design sports cars, not only are they all automatic, you can't get a stick shift, but the shifter's gone. They're using the dial now. And people are like, you're putting a dial on a GT500? What's wrong with you? And this is so much worse.
Here's how Tesla's new touchscreen drive selector works. And there's a Twitter video of somebody dragging the car backwards to put it in reverse on a touchscreen. And that just seems like peak stupid.
You can kind of see, I think it's this right here.
Well, in the Twitter video, it's like halfway down that sidebar, but yeah.
And the idea here, and apparently he explained this to Joe Rogan. I don't listen to the Musk-Rogan podcast because I don't like him, but Rogan, you know how he is. He's constantly like interrupting. He's like, wait a minute. How can that possibly work? And Musk just kept reiterating, no, you let the car decide. The car decides when you back up or drive forward. And also, neutral is in a sub-menu. You have to open another menu.
Can I at least press and hold on the icon to get to neutral? I mean, come on.
And apparently this is supposed to be based on like what's in front of you and what's behind you. So the car, if there's nothing in front of you, the car just assumes you want to go forward. But what if you don't want to go forward? It's madness.
This is going to be one of those things where like some old person drives through a wall and it's going to be like, I don't understand what happened.
But here's what I'm worried about. Are all the other car companies just like that big garish middle screen? Are they going to look at this and be like, oh, we need that?
Yes.
Let's do that right now.
See, also,
I kind of hate that because like when you're driving and it's like, oh, I just need to like turn off the air conditioning. Instead of just doing that with a dial, you're going to have to like sit and actually look at it.
Yeah.
Do you think the UI is good enough to lock that control when you're in motion?
No.
But there's no transmission, so you could reverse those motors probably without damaging them in motion.
No, I would reverse it. That's just
the tires.
braking,
The tires would be in a bad shape.
They have a lot of torque. I don't think they have that much torque.
Anybody with a Tesla, you should go try that.
Yeah.
Don't try that. Well, Theranos is one of my favorite stories. And after I watched a little bit of that documentary and heard her fake voice, I'm way more excited about it because she was so much crazier than I ever thought. And I kind of love it. And I'm kind of like super attracted to her because of it. But this one is a much more meme-worthy version of the same story.
SF poop testing startup, once compared to Theranos, is charged in a $60 million fraud scheme. So the idea here is like, oh yeah, we'll analyze your poop and tell you what's wrong with you. Don't worry, just mail it in. It's all good. They didn't do anything.
How crazy is it that at any given time, because they're not the only company that does this,
yeah.
and when you see a UPS or a FedEx truck or something, there's probably poop in it.
Yeah.
Good chance. And I'm not even talking about in the driver's diaper.
No, it's a bag. They use bags according to those documents.
Foreshadowing.
They're not allowed to stop. Is the joke there. We talked about this one before, but he has returned, and of course the naysayers will not allow that, and they have refocused their efforts, but he's now saying, no, I will not leave again. Is he holding a rabbit?
Yes.
In this picture?
Yeah, this is a strange photo to have selected by the editor.
Free software advocates seek removal of Richard Stallman and the entire FSF board. Open letter signed by hundreds. RMS has no place in the free software community. There's just... We could talk for an hour about this, but I don't know. On the one hand, I don't think it's necessary for someone to have a perfect ideology in order to function. But on the other hand, like... You've seen the movie Rain Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if Rain Man was horribly racist? Like everything that he said, definitely something, and then something horribly racist.
In my mind, when I watch that movie, the canon is that he is super racist. He just doesn't talk about it.
Oh.
So, you look at somebody, in the Rain Man movie, and it's like, it's very pitiable. That's how he is. And in some ways, he's very functional. but in other ways, he's unrecoverably unfunctional.
But here's the question. I think we talked about this last time when this first happened. Take that mental disability and go back over the history of Linux and take out everybody that contributed that has that mental disability.
There's nothing left.
Exactly. So is it better to be inclusive and woke, or is it better that the networks work?
And also, I mean, let's not pick on Linux here. Let's talk about modern rocketry or going to the moon. You know, what is it you say? The wings of the Third Reich.
The V2s were very good rockets.
On the opposite side of that, though, like, how far are you willing to go to defend one person when how much other talent are you alienating because of that one person?
It is true that the other, in my opinion, the one of the big drawbacks of those kinds of communities, Linux in particular, is their obsession with certain individuals.
Right.
Yeah. Hero worship is a problem in every aspect of society.
I think open source is unique in that if you want to anonymously contribute, you can. Is it just the...
But sometimes your contributions are actually a weight on the project. I think this is a case where a lot of that's happening. Ideally, we would separate. But like, remember the Drupal thing?
Yeah.
That guy was just, what was he? He was like reading weird novels and tweeting about them. And they were like, oh, this novel has, I don't even remember what it was, like female slavery or something like that. Like, you got to go. So they're not allowing a separation. That's the point.
Yeah.
You can't clock out at the end of the day and go live your life without being under somebody's scrutiny.
We will never advance as a society because no one is perfect.
Yeah. I don't know. But he says he's sticking around. I don't know. What do you think? Think he'll be able to?
No, I don't think
weather
he'll be able to
this?
stick around.
No?
I think that ultimately it all ends up being a distraction. And it really is too bad because, you know, I think that he's had some positive contributions to things, but at the same time, it's like, you know, if you had certain expectations of Rain Man, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Why do you expect that from Rain Man? And I don't mean that in defense. That's not a defense or criticism. It's just, you know, why do you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree?
But there is an argument to be made there of why is he in a position of leadership?
Yes.
Why not just let him be a monkey that's working on the code?
I guess I would feel differently if it was, you know, the RMS battered women's shelter. I probably would feel differently. It's probably
Well,
not
how
a
many
good...
women have tried to make a contribution and then it's like, oh, I've just had, you know, this horrible experience. Screw this. I'm not going to contribute anymore.
Yeah, that's definitely a valid concern.
And
For
I think the last time we talked about this, we have definitely, and this, I know I'm not taking her word for it. Wendell and I have both seen Krista be treated very different.
Yeah.
Very,
in
very
these
different.
kinds of situations.
And kind of horrifying too, because it's like, look how amazing this is, and they're like, we're not even going to look at that because of where it came from, and it's like, you did what now? It's really
or there have been times where it's like, that's great, and then they find out it was from me, and then it's like, oh, never mind, we don't want it. And it's like, oh, okay, is that how we're going to do things now? And I don't want that situation to be repeated for other people.
I wouldn't have believed it's as bad as it is, but having actually witnessed that, it is actually really sort of bad.
Yeah. And that holds back the technology as a whole when you have people who are boxed out like that. There are definitely people who take it too far, but like, everyone benefits if everyone gets to contribute.
What if we switch open source contributions to just a hash?
Yeah, I would be all for that.
Yeah, that would probably be great. That's the same reason I don't talk on voice chat in Overwatch, because people are more likely to listen to your callouts if they don't hear your voice.
Oh, Christy, you got to do the Theranos voice.
Yeah,
That's what it's for.
Well, we talked about that a few weeks ago too, where I was like, I kind of get why she did it. Like, I mean, it's stupid, but I get why she did it.
Wow, this D3 D9 committer is amazing. This code is just unbelievable.
But somebody would start putting political stuff in their comments.
Yeah.
They would ruin it.
It's just...
Or not putting, or they would name a variable something that would become a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're never going to fix this.
That's definitely one of the one of the fallacies with genius is that if you have somebody who is a genius with something and you ask them about something else, they will invariably give your opinion on that, even though it might be horribly misinformed. Or just a horrible opinion in general. It's like they don't understand.
But there's also always going to be people who are just looking to tear that down.
Yeah.
To make a name for themselves in other ways.
Or worse, there are people that recognize that flaw, the Rain Man person, and they'll get entertainment from baiting the Rain Man person into saying something really horrible when they didn't mean it really as horribly as it sounds, because they're just broken.
Or they know that, like, let's say somebody has a compulsion for solving problems, and they know that, so they take advantage of that and constantly bring their problems knowing that there'll be a solution immediately.
I've never experienced that. Sorry.
Well, the chip shortage affects us all, and it's terrible. It really is a depressing thing because there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. But what you might not know, as being someone who watches this program, I don't imagine these two worlds cross over too often. But that's not the only thing that people are competing for online.
Rare sneakers, bots, and insider connections. So this scandal has it all. So this executive at Nike, her son, was running a thing to flip sneakers. So you could buy certain rare sneakers and then I guess at auction or on the Nike website or whatever. Well, he had written bots to do that and was reselling them and making $20,000, $30,000 a month.
Wow.
Now, apparently, I don't know anything about the sneaker world. I've been wearing the same model of New Balance shoes for probably a decade at this point. I mean, I found a shoe, I'm sticking with it. But I got the impression reading this article, because they talked about like shoe drops, which is funny because the other shoe. But they're saying, like, if you didn't manage to get in on this limited drop because of the bots, you're being affected by this. But it's not, I mean, manufacturing sneakers is not like fabbing transistors. Can't you just make more? Aren't they artificially limiting the...
They are absolutely artificial. It's like a brand thing. Like, oh, you got to get the newest thing, and like they're only going to do a limited run. And
peak consumerism.
Yeah.
So shouldn't we be more angry? I mean, I know we're all angry at NVIDIA, but I think NVIDIA would probably sell us the chips if they could.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is...
It makes no sense.
I mean, it's just some leather and fabric. Just make more of them. But here's the other crazy thing about this. If you think this is some little niche thing, the number one increase in consumer shopping after the stimulus, this last round of stimulus, athletic footwear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. People got to have them shoes.
I haven't spent any of my stimmy money.
I would think that like 3D printed shoes are almost a thing. And then at that point, it's like the ultimate commodity. Like, it just doesn't matter anymore.
I don't know if there's a pliant enough material yet.
For that, yeah, that would feel good on your foot.
Maybe do the soles.
No, you can. There are rubber like material that are just as flexible, maybe not as durable.
But you don't want a whole shoe made out of rubber. That's going to be pretty miserable.
Yeah.
If you're not spending your stimulus money on athletic shoes, maybe you'll spend it on getting back out to the theater. No one's doing that either. But it does seem like things are changing. I think now that the vaccine's rolling out, we're getting into this place where people are more likely to venture back out. And they're saying, you know all that stuff we said before? Forget it. Just forget all that.
Warner Brothers is going to return to theatrical releases in 2022, ending its HBO Max experiment. But it is going to be a shorter 45-day exclusivity window for theaters. We'll see how much they stick to this. I kind of doubt they will.
I think we'll probably never get back to the crowds that we had before.
No. I really doubt that too. Because why would you?
I don't know. I love paying $8 for a Kit Kat. I don't know about you. But
that's why you carry a big purse.
Makes me feel American.
I like going to a theater when there's hardly anybody else in the theater.
But then they lose money.
Yeah.
So that's definitely...
If you go to like a matinee, it'll be like that. There won't be anyone around. Night shows are almost never like that.
Also winter, because I can wear a jacket with my own snacks.
Oh, that's why Chris is saying for the purse.
Cargo pants. Well, AT&T, this is kind of similar to the Apple tweet and the Amazon tweet about the pee bottles and stuff like that. It's just... it rings so false at this point.
Remember what we were discussing in the first episode, how the meaning of words has been lost, and that is society is going to collapse when that happens?
And HBO Max, as we were talking about with the theaters, is benefiting from something that California doesn't tolerate.
AT&T lies about California net neutrality law, claiming that it bans free data. AT&T is angry that it must stop charging HBO Max rivals for data cap exemptions. So, if you got an AT&T mobile service and you want to watch HBO Max, it doesn't count, or didn't count, towards your data cap. Your paltry, probably 5 gigabytes per month. That's good for like 2 episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation in a month. I can't make it that long. No, it's terrible. So if you had HBO Max, AT&T didn't keep track of that as a quota. But if you had a competing service like Netflix, it still counted against your quota. You couldn't have it. So obviously they don't do that because of congestion or because it's a finite resource. They do that to make more money. And any argument otherwise is basically intellectually dishonest.
I don't think you need to qualify it with intellectually.
It's just dishonest.
Just straight dishonest.
So AT&T's complaining. They're like, oh, it's free data with HBO Max, which is, an incredible lie. Because it completely changes the meaning of words. So frustrating.
There's a lot of that happening these days.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a problem. Well, I had a cracked tooth recently. I just got a crown put on it yesterday, and oh boy, that's expensive. And most of the time, I know in my mind, somewhere I know the truth that our healthcare system is just,
it's pretty bad.
It's the worst thing that most Americans ever have to deal with. And I know that the insurance that I have is just absolute garbage, but I push it out of my mind. I don't think about it because it's too damaging. But then when you actually go to pay for a medical procedure and you're like, oh, wow,
Teeth are luxury bones.
They're not paying any of this, huh?
Teeth are luxury bones under most people's insurance policies.
Yeah.
Then you really have to remember how bad things are. And oh boy, are they bad. And we like to vilify the insurance companies, but the insurance companies are just one aspect of it because the hospitals at this point are fully in on the scam.
How hospitals hide pricing data from web search results from the Wall Street Journal. So this is actually like the Becker's Hospital review, but there's a lot to unpack here. But
well, this is just the paywall alternative.
My favorite thing from this was one of the healthcare executive people was like, "Oh yeah, the pricing's on there somewhere, but good luck finding it."
Yeah, so they're using various web tools to stop the crawlers from getting in there and finding the pricing data, and they're using those dark patterns that we talked about earlier to try and get you. So there is a legal requirement that these things must be posted, and they are. But if you don't have the direct URL that they sent to the regulators, you're probably never going to get it.
No.
It's even if you call them half the time and it's like, am I in network? And, what is a price for this particular thing? They have no idea. No one at the hospital has any idea.
And they're probably, especially now, so overtasked and understaffed. And it's the same with, all the big tech companies. You're never going to be able to talk to the person who can make it better.
There are several cases where it was like the hospital was in network and the doctor was in network, but the doctor's assistant was not in network. And it's like, how would you even know that? Like, how is that even a thing?
Well, it's printed on this website.
Or it's like the assistant and the doctor were in network, but the assistant was sick that day, so they had to bring in someone else, and they were out of network, so now you're screwed.
Yeah.
The doctor actually brought his dog to work that day, and his dog's out of network. So you should have checked that.
It's all just an elaborate scam. That's all it is.
That's how it feels.
And an effective one, unfortunately. Well, speaking of scams, or at least attacks, Acer has been hit by one, and this is probably going to cost them. It's going to cost them quite a bit of money.
Computer giant Acer is hit by a $50 million ransomware attack. So it looks like it was one of those exchange vulnerabilities we were mentioning. They didn't patch their exchange in time. Oh no.
That's a tough one if you're Acer.
Yeah.
You should really be doing better than that. How can I be confident in your products if your team doesn't know to do that?
Hopefully they got good backups.
We don't know yet if they're going to pay that. But $50 million. That's not huge for Acer, but it's going to hurt.
Yeah, that's the largest ransomware ever on record. So, seems a little excessive, yeah.
And we talked earlier about how China is not super excited about their core people, their government and military employees driving Teslas. It's for this reason.
Tesla's in-car cameras raise privacy concerns, Consumer Reports. So before anybody wigs out about the whole, article saying, oh, it's just China overreacting, nobody would ever do that, blah, blah, blah. Consumer Reports, they're one of the most pro-consumer organizations that exist yet in America, and even they have concerns. What does that tell you?
So you might be saying, well, everybody's doing that, right? This is the distracted driving thing. It turns out that the other companies don't use cameras. They use other kinds of sensors, and when they do use a camera, it's never stored. Or at least they say. I mean, I don't know if we can trust that. But according to them, it's never stored. Tesla does not make that promise to you. Tesla has a camera on you, and that camera footage could go back to Tesla. Yeah. And they could use it, and they probably will use it to train the AI.
So much training.
So watch out for that. Make sure you put on your banana sticker before getting in your Tesla.
You get it, and it's like the AI is so bad that the airbag just immediately deploys, and it's like, oh, I thought you were killed. I'm sorry.
And if you're thinking that maybe it's like, well, okay, what could they possibly do with all that biometric data? How much could they really tell about what I'm up to with all these various sensors that they have? And this is a perfect illustration of how bad it can be.
Amazon delivery drivers forced to sign biometric consent form or lose job. The new cameras, which are being implemented nationwide, use artificial intelligence to access drivers' location, movement, and biometric data. So you're not going to be able to pee in the bottle anymore. You're going to have to just hold it until you explode. You can get sepsis from that.
Ugh.
Oh, you know what else can happen? This is one of the most horrific stories I've ever heard. It happened to the guy on the original host of Survivor, because he was on that island all day. He was like, I just held it in. And one day he woke up, couldn't go. It turns out the bladder is pretty elastic, but when it reaches the limit of its elasticity, there's no pressure anymore. So stuff's going in, but it can't squeeze together.
Did he have to have a catheter to get it out?
Yes, he had to have a catheter. Ooh, and he had to catheter himself once per day for months. Wow. Until that, not even once per day. At the first sign of pressure, you got to get it out because you're wanting things to shrink back down. Yeah. So he was just constantly, think about that.
Now imagine that if you're just like making the wage of an Amazon driver, you don't have health insurance, or if you do, it's probably pretty crappy. And then you have to do that.
Oh.
And how expensive that's going to be.
And that's your only alternative for a job. I mean,
it's pretty dark.
It's a really not a good sign for humanity marching forward into the future. Definitely not good.
Is there going to be a future where, because of all this, it's socially acceptable for people to just walk around soaked in urine?
I don't think that'll ever be acceptable because of the smell.
No, it was that way for, until very recently. I mean, like I'm pretty sure. You mean
in the entire scope of history?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in Rome, it was like the sewage thing was basically making the road convex so that the sewage would flow to either side. And that was the sewage system.
Like in France with the chamber pots.
Yeah.
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 I don't think we should go back to that.
I don't think we should go back to that either.
I think there are a lot of health benefits from not doing that.
Yeah. Do you think the Amazon delivery vans will have some sort of like, space age apparatus like Jeff Bezos has given the company wide thing, and it's like, look, we've got space toilets on the new vans, and it's like yes, it's like that looks like it's just a hose that I go into, and it's like exactly
that's just a wet dry vac,
but it dumps it on the highway as you're going.
What about
they
the
could
female
do a composting toilet in the back, but they'd probably be like, oh, that takes up too much room for packages.
But plus, you're driving around in a hot van filled with compost.
Yeah, that wouldn't be ideal.
Maybe it'll be like Warhammer. Like the first Warhammer armor was actually just, Amazon delivery vans.
Here it is. Here's the ultimate dream. For those of you who want a green company, Joe Biden will give you so much money for this. You come up with a type of cardboard that breaks down in human urine and becomes
any cardboard.
Something useful. And then your Amazon driver, he'll bring your boxes and he's like, oh, do you have any boxes for me? And you take the old boxes back and he puts them in there and he pees on them. And then over time, that becomes a rich fertilizer slurry.
With a rich aroma to boot.
And then you have like Amazon landscaping. They use that.
That's a thing. That's people tell you to pee on your compost pile already.
Well, Krista, it sounds like you should start this company.
I don't want to do that. I'm struggling with my own little compost pile. I wouldn't make enough.
There is a company that makes a poop box, a biodegradable poop box that's got like a seed for a tree or something in it. So like when you poop in the box and you bury it in it.
Can't be a fruit tree, right, though? Because you're not supposed to eat stuff that was grown with human feces.
You have to have it break down a certain amount of time. It has to reach a certain temperature if you're going to use anything like actual feces or meat or anything like that.
Well, our Amazon, composter will do that. It'll heat.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Off those electric batteries, off the new electric Amazon. They're green and yellow.
Oh.
All right, well,
anyway.
That's all we got for today.
I went on a weird tangent.
It does most of the time.
Yeah.
Friday will be, what have we not done yet?
Nonsense and robot, right?
We haven't done robots.
Yeah.
Woo! All right.
We will
see
you guys then.
See ya.
Bye.